So, welcome everyone to 20-something, our random-ass podcast where we talk about stuff that we like, don't like, and are struggling with. I'm Victoria, but you may call me GhostyStuff, and with me I have... I don't know where to start. Let's say
I'll go. It's me. Sorry, Erin. I'm cutting you off. It's what you get for losing your audio. Hi, I'm William Irwin, aka the Salsaclubpresident, and I got an awesome new profile picture from, a really cool person.
Wow.
Okay, you can't. I know we said we could shamelessly promote each other, but after the podcast episode is over.
It's really good. I'm gonna like shut up and take my appreciation.
Wait, yeah, why can't we give you praise on episode?
Yeah,
what
the fuck is
crazy.
Victoria? The fuck is that, Victoria? Are you saying we can't compliment you? The fuck is that?
God damn it.
Welcome to Canada, motherfucker.
Nick, introduce yourself.
I'm Nick, also known as cartoon nickname. I am fidgeting with the REMP engine, so if I seem distracted today, that is why.
It's because you are.
Bro, give me some tips afterwards.
In my... Oh, hell yeah. Me in my shame corner because I ruined an episode that we did, and so I'll introduce myself last, sadly. Hi, I'm Erin, Pagesoferin. I'm in the shame corner.
Get this, audience. We recorded an episode last week, and Erin had the brilliant idea to be like, oh yeah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna accidentally lose my audio. What the hell was that, Erin?
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't on purpose.
No, it was. Let's be real. I just hated you all that much that I thought I'd waste our time.
She was salty because she doesn't have a face.
She purposely accidentally...
It is all a ploy to get Victoria to draw me a face. If you don't, I will also lose this recording session.
So all it took was for me to draw Will's, profile earlier, and we could have avoided this.
Well, that's just tragic.
Well, shit.
So, what's the topic for today, gamers?
Apparently, we decided on the horror.
Horror? How many times can we say horror where it sounds like horror?
Horror was my favorite Game of Thrones character.
I've never watched Game of Thrones, so for a second I was just like, I feel like that's an actual character.
There's a character named Hodor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and there's a cool twist with that, but I won't say it because Game of Thrones...
His name is actually horror.
Game of Thrones isn't horror. Come on, let's not go on a tangent before we've even started our topic.
Fine. So, full disclosure from me, I am not really a horror fan. I enjoy some of the Resident Evil games. I enjoyed The Evil Within 1 and 2. That's basically it. I do really like horror comedy movies, like Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead, but I'm not an avid... I don't watch all the Insidious and Conjuring movies.
Have you seen a haunted house?
That's the Marlon Wayans thing, right?
Yes.
No, because I don't really like Marlon Wayans movies.
That's fair. It's an interesting type of comedy. I watched it with one of my friends because he absolutely fucking loves it. It was over time I got used to it, and some of the jokes really were funny, and other things were just all right, this is drawing on too long. But some good ass memes came from it, so.
Yeah, I remember I saw a review from a YouTuber named Jeremy Johns. He reviewed that Marlon Wayans movie, the 50 Shades of Black.
I haven't seen that one.
What?
He said,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, he did a 50 Shade and this is actually still on topic because let's be honest, 50 Shades of anything is absolutely horror. Let's not kid ourselves.
Sure.
But yeah, no, he did a parody called 50 Shades of Black, and the reviewer I'm talking about said that the only funny part was when there's a scene where Marlon Wayans is going to spank the girl, and the wall is just lined with whips that different black people were whipped in slave movies.
Oh my god!
And then I think, and then one of them though just said Joe Jackson, and it was just a belt.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, and I remember just thinking he said that was the only part of the movie that was even remotely funny.
Oh god, you know what? That's valid. I feel Marlon Wayans has a specific way he does comedy, and I guess considering how much popularity he has, he could just do whatever the fuck he wants. And you know what? I respect that.
I don't want to stay on Marlon Wayans too much, but he did that fucking sextuplets thing on Netflix that apparently was really bad.
Look,
I don't want to dog on him. He seems nice.
I don't even know who you're talking about, so I'm just over here.
I'll
no,
give
I'm
you
thinking
this.
of something else.
Yeah, I will give you this. He was nominated for 2 awards at the Golden Raspberry for worst prequel, remake, or ripoff or sequel, and also worst supporting actress. So.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
It's like when Adam Sandler won that for Jack and Jill.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he won both, I think.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah.
I hate that because there are times in that movie that I do kind of laugh at.
So horror, huh? Adam Sandler. What's the
Yeah.
scariest Adam Sandler movie that exists? I'm gonna go ahead and say that
Everything
know-
after Grown Ups.
no, I was gonna say that episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine he was in was probably the scariest
Yeah.
Adam Sandler.
There's an
Oh,
episode where he's
was
just
he?
there and he's just like making fun of Jake Peralta.
Right, wasn't that at an auction or something that was going on?
If I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
But anyway, I just
Mhm.
so all that to say, out of all of us, I think well, I mean, we don't really talk a lot about horror, but I think I'd be willing to bet that I'm probably like the least like I'm not out of all of us. I'm like the least big fan of horror.
Meanwhile,
fair.
I'm here fucking chomping at the bit because I use horror as a means to deal with my own anxiety.
I'm chomping
I'm
at
just
the
like,
bit myself
yes!
because like
Let's fucking do it.
for me, horror was very much something I used to be so terrified of anything remotely scary that like a Ben Stiller movie I watched as a kid scared me. And like it had one scary scene and that scared the crap out of me. And then cut to me in like what year was it? It was 2017 in the theater with my
Oh my
brother
God.
who is 5 years older than me, and I'm just laughing my ass off watching him get scared the hell out of the It movie. And I'm just like I'm like laughing like
I love that.
I think I think I was really put off by horror because this isn't a horror movie, but like as a kid seeing this movie, it scared the shit out of me. I don't know why my mom thought it was a good idea to show Raiders of the Lost Ark to me when I was 6. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that scene, like first of all, Raiders of the Lost Ark was the first movie I saw where I realized, oh, you're allowed to put blood in movies? Because I didn't know that at the time. Every movie I'd seen up until then was like Star Wars. There's like not a drop of blood in Star Wars because the
That's fair.
lightsabers are all hot. So it
you
just
know
burns the
his
blood away.
hand comes off, right?
Yeah, but
Like,
it
okay,
cauterizes
there's
the
Oh, yeah,
wound,
that-
blood,
so...
but still.
Oh yeah, there is blood. That's like the one time there's blood. But like, the scene where like Alfred Molina like falls down, he just has the arrows in his back, and of course the scene at the end where like the faces melt. That just scarred me so much.
That's
I
valid.
I think that kind of put me. And then I also saw Attack of the Clones, and there's like a scene where an assassin gets hit by a dart that like makes her body decompose, and I was so traumatized by that as well.
I'll be honest, like, I guess my start to horror was like, I don't know, because I would get easily scared of things because I was a little princess, and what I would watch as movies is like Lilo and Stitch and like Barbie movies, and I think a horrible animated adaptation of The King and I, which was originally
Oh,
a
yeah.
Broadway film or something. I loved that movie as a kid. I would have been back and watched it a little while ago. It's bad. Some of the songs are good, but it's bad. And I think like the first time I was like truly exposed to horror was God, all I can remember, it was super late at night. I probably shouldn't have been alone while watching this, but for some reason I had found Aliens vs. Predators playing on TV.
Hell yeah.
So I was just like,
Wait. Sorry. I quick question. Was
Yeah.
it the first one or the sequel?
it was the first one. I don't think the sequel came out because I think I was like 10 years old or something.
Okay, because I know that the sequel gets like, because people complained that the first one was like PG-13, and I remember that in the sequel it was like really bloody.
Mhm.
So if you saw the sequel, then
No.
I would have been
I mean,
like,
there
oh,
there
you
was
poor
some
thing.
blood and there was definitely some horrifying shit
I've
because
seen clips
you
of
know,
AVP1, like they get like they just did that whole thing where like, oh no, it's not red blood, it's green.
Yeah, it's like in
Which makes it
Danganronpa where they
okay.
turn. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like in
they turn it
Danganronpa
pink.
when they turn the blood pink. So
Well,
it's like,
that's
oh, it's
also
okay.
like stylistic. Like I don't think they would have cared if they had to make it rated R.
but yeah, it was just like that was I guess my introduction to it, and after I didn't touch it for a while, but all I can remember is little me sitting 1 inch away from the TV screen so close I could see the RGB colors and just watching some black lady hang out with a predator and go fight Queen Alien in the middle of like the Arctic. And I was
love that for you.
Yeah, no, that
First exposure.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
I think mine was so lame in comparison because like you guys had like movies and stuff, and then I grew up very much like I was able to have all of the internet access I wanted because my parents didn't know how to monitor me and they didn't really take the time to do so anyway.
So just so much
So-
porn.
I immediately went into like the creepypasta fandoms and SCP
Ooh.
and like watching
Uh-oh.
horror clips
I got into
everywhere
that
I could.
when I was a preteen is when I got into creepypasta. Reading
Oh,
them
I was
Ben
into
Drowned
creepypasta
Ex-Reader fan
from, like-
fictions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh man, I remember Ben Drowned X-Reader fanfics. Very fun.
I never read like a fanfics or anything. I never really fucked
Oh
with
no,
those.
Oh, you're missing out.
I still read fanfics to this day.
I have been reading quite a bit of fanfics, but that's mostly like ship fanfics, you know.
That's fair.
I'm
That's
an
just so much
X-reader slut for sure.
Oh, I read the smut. Oh, I read.
Yeah, I don't want to have that conversation about what smut you read. So continue, Erin.
You don't want to join the barrel of insanity, Will?
You don't want to join the
I-
fan fiction club?
I would rather.
I could
You know-
I could do like a live reading of some of my fanfiction if you guys want.
Listen,
Hey, I could do a live reading of some of mine too.
Yours
I got
is
you.
just...
I don't want to.
Have you
Aaron-
read mine? I need to
No,
know,
I
Nick. Have
haven't,
you looked
but,
at
like,
any of it? Okay.
From what you tell me, like it's all smut.
Yeah.
I just want to be like. You remember that guy in Titanic who fell into the propeller?
Never
Yes.
saw Titanic.
I'm gonna go out of my way to do that. No,
All right,
I'm not talking
Paolo.
about Titanic. I've never seen Titanic, so
me neither.
I don't
Oh
care
my
for.
god, really?
I haven't. I'm sorry. Leo
it's just
Leo
such like an
DiCaprio.
icon movie.
Leo
It
DiCaprio,
does,
y'all ain't
like-
hitting. I'm sorry, bro.
I
I'm
just
gonna
like
say it,
Cameron when he... Look, go ahead.
I'm gonna say it. John Wick is more iconic than Titanic.
Yeah,
Oh sure, 100%.
Yeah.
but I mean, like, my
Um,
thing is, like, I really don't like James Cameron when he tries to be quote-unquote artistic. Like, I like it more when he's just doing things like he
You mean like
genuinely
Avatar?
enjoys.
Yeah,
No,
Avatar.
yeah, no, Avatar's not good. Like, my favorite Cameron movies are like, he didn't direct it, but like Alita Battle Angel, like, it's great. And my favorite
did it?
I have
movie
not
of
seen
his...
it.
Yeah, I read the manga of Battle Angel and going through it again, but like, my favorite movie of his that he directed is The Abyss. And you listen to him in interviews, and you just watch all the shit in that movie, like, it's clear he had like this he's got this crazy love for marine life. Like, he
Is-
went down to like that trench.
Wait, is that the one with Ed Harris?
Yeah.
Didn't like James Cameron do something really shitty to Ed Harris? Like he left him underwater for a lot longer than he said.
Jesus.
I don't know.
Oh,
I know it
Jesus.
was like a hellscape to work. There's like a making of documentary that says like it was a hellscape. Everyone there agrees like it was horrible to work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of hellscapes, Aaron, what were you saying about fanfic?
Bring it back
Oh,
into the void.
Beautiful
The-
segue.
The fanfic just kind of goes back. I wasn't reading. Well, no, I guess I was reading fanfic back then. But I was definitely like into creepypasta before I was into fanfic, and that was my very slow introduction to horror. Was like the Ben Drowned stories and Jeff the Killer, and you know all of the SCP things. When that became a thing, I was hooked by. And then I was really desensitized to horror movies because of everything I had read. And then I found horror games, which are so much more immersive and so much more horror driven that like I appreciate horror movies and I wouldn't mind writing a few, but
Yeah.
I find them really freaking lesser than a game. Like
Honestly,
they're
like-
just so dull.
Yeah, because
That's fair.
I don't really, like I said earlier, I don't watch horror movies. Like I've seen a couple. Like I watched the first like 2017 It movie, and I enjoyed it, but I was never really scared by it. But
Mhm.
like I've played a couple. Like I've played most of the recent Resident Evils except for like 7, just because I don't like the like first person shooter like horror. I don't
fair.
need to
Agree.
see I don't need to see a demon look me in the eye. I don't need to deal with that.
No, I much
but, you
prefer
know,
like over the shoulder horror, like
Yeah.
third person.
Yeah, but no, like because I played for the first time, like last year, I played the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake pretty close together, and specifically like because I wasn't too scared of 3 because 3 felt way more like actiony.
It is.
But like 2 scared the shit out of me because I couldn't.
So good.
Yeah, because here's the advantage that like horror movies or horror games have over horror movies and like shows in general is that like if something scary is about to happen in a movie, I think Victoria, you said this before.
Yeah.
If something scary is happening in like a movie or a show, you can skip past it. If it's in a game,
You're
like
fucked.
no, you need to carefully, especially like Resident Evil 2 when like Mr. X is introduced.
Yeah, when Mr.
like,
X
Yeah.
shows up.
Dude, Mr. X is like
He hounds you.
he's so much more intimidating than Nemesis, I think, because no, I think so specifically because of the environment. Because Resident Evil 2 is very claustrophobic, and you just see this big hulking Chad man walking towards you.
I
Always
hate-
the Shads that are
I hate the
scariest.
fact. Can I just say this about real quick? I hate the fact
Mhm.
that people think Mr. X is scarier than Nemesis, because Nemesis in the original game is what Mr. X is in remake. Because in the original Resident Evil 2, I haven't played it, but I played the original 3. Original Resident Evil 2, Mr. X is like just some guy that follows you around, but 3 was really the first game in Resident Evil to show like this guy is hounding you and he's chasing you and he will not goddamn stop. And then
Yeah.
Mr. X came by in the remake and everyone fell in love with him. And then Nemesis, I still love 3 make, but like they did something different with Nemesis.
Yeah, because he's barely in the game. He only shows up in like very scripted moments, and it makes him feel so much less intimidating. Because
That's
like,
the problem with
yeah.
games like Resident Evil where they have those scripted moments is it becomes more of a movie and you have less like involvement all of a sudden. And like, you know, a few cutscenes here or there, established story, that's fine. But I feel like, you know, establishing creatures like Nemesis and all that crap, like that is so sad to do it in a scripted moment.
I don't care too much for like the scripted stuff in like Resident Evil 3 just because like, I feel like there's like a lot of cutscenes in that game, and I just I don't know, because like my favorite Resident Evil game is, and I'm sure it's the case for most people, Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is it's so. What did you just say to me, bitch?
I said 4 was okay.
Alright, we're not gonna
How-
start a fight over RE in
Throw
this
it down,
goddamn
throw it
podcast.
down.
Dare
I'm
you.
gonna
Throw it
get
down.
shipped for just saying it in this podcast, and immediately people
Resident Evil 4. Okay, I will agree that like in terms of horror, Resident Evil 4 is pretty terrible. It's not that scary. It's really anxiety inducing because of the controls. Like the fact that you can't reload while moving, you have to be aiming the gun and you can get interrupted. Like that scares me so much. Or not scares me, but like it makes me feel so stressed.
That
Because
was
then
the
it's like,
idea of like that's why so many of the early Resident Evils have like shit controls. Like that's what the
Yeah.
intention was.
yeah, but like something
It
about
sounds
Resident
like a
Evil 4.
Capcom move.
Yeah, but something about like Resident Evil 4 in particular, because I think Resident Evil 4, if I'm remembering correctly, was the first game where you could like, you had not a lot, but you had some control over the camera.
Yeah.
Like it was a over the shoulder third person shooter, whereas
Yeah, that
the
was the
first
first one.
original games were, like fixed cameras and tank controls. But then like I think Resident Evil 4, no, it doesn't have like tank controls, but
It has
it's very
tank
like
controls when you're aiming, if I remember correctly.
yeah. Well, because you can't move when you're aiming, and
Yeah.
that also adds
Yeah,
to
that
the
was the
intensity.
thing.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't really have a preference between like first person and over the shoulder when it comes to horror games. I haven't played that many horror games, is the thing. So when playing like, let's say, how many?
I never heard of this fuck. Is it a good horror game?
It sounds
Yeah, it's
like
terrifying.
it. I'd love to
Yeah.
play it.
What's the monster
But,
look like?
I guess really, we'll talk about that later. But I
It's got a lot of
really-
tentacles. We don't
Nice.
talk
Really,
about it.
the main horror movie that I can remember playing, well, the horror movies I've played, sorry, horror games, god damn it, have always been like first person. So like Prey, first person,
Mhm.
RE7, first person, and I'm honestly like I'm okay with those because like obviously like you pointed out, Will, as I said earlier, when it comes to horror movies, you can skip over those bits or you can walk away. When you're in the game and you're playing, you have no choice but to go through because that's how you get to the next stage and you can't complete it otherwise you're fucked. What I enjoy when it is first person, though, is I enjoy when the demon's right in my fucking face. I enjoy a bunch of hillbillies that are infected with some, like, fucking mold coming right at me. And, like, I don't feel like Ethan until he talks. And even then, I'm just like, oh, I'm just piloting Ethan's body. It's still me here, and they're attacking me.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I'm gonna shoot you.
I have such mixed feelings about Ethan.
I know, you don't like Ethan as a character.
Before we go, because I'm happy to hear about your thoughts on Ethan, because, like, so valid for this podcast, but before we go too off topic, I just want to bring it to, like, you have first person and third person and all that stuff, and I'm gonna out myself as the oldest person in this group, where I say, I have... Hey now. Don't go that far.
You're gonna you're gonna go for the original Resident Evil screen.
Should we get a boomer card?
Fixed camera angle horror is so near and dear to my heart. Like, original games, freaking old Fatal Frame, old Silent Hill, old Resident Evil, where you just can't control that. And it's...
Sorry.
Can I just say, it's good for something like horror, but it's not good for something like the first Devil May Cry, because I can't fucking see what I'm doing.
Okay, no, I can't play.
I 100% agree, and honestly, fixed camera hasn't, like, you couldn't, well, I mean, you could, but it would be risky to put out a game, even a horror game, with a fixed camera angle these days.
Oh, yeah.
But going back to them, it just suits the medium so well, because that's just another form of fighting and control that you've lost.
Yeah.
And that puts you more in the
That's why it's called survival horror.
Because I think more people... I think more people are like... Sorry.
Sorry, Will. I gotta give my piece in. But, like, I feel like you could definitely do that if you had the money. Because we got something like Death Stranding.
Yeah.
And that's because fucking, Kojima has the connections and has the money, can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Kojima can do fucking anything.
But the thing is, I feel like you could definitely do it. That's true. But I feel like you can still definitely do the fixed camera thing if you make that clear that that is your intention. And, like, at that point, it would become an artistic choice, is the thing.
Exactly.
It worked for Silent Hill very well, and now that I'm thinking back to it, is because part of the horror is the environment itself, obviously. It's not just the things that you attack, it's also controlling the atmosphere around the character. The reason why you can't just, like, look around certain corners before physically going through them or going into another room without, risking peril is because, well, that's just what Silent Hill is like for that character. That's the world that they've built around themselves. But, who was... Sorry. Shit. We're gonna apologize a lot. I forgot we were Canadian.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between, who's the main character in Silent Hill 2?
James Sunderland?
There we go.
Sunderland, yeah.
Yeah, it's the difference between, like, James versus the fucking shitty little child, I forgot her name, Blondie or whatever. It's like, she doesn't see anything of the monsters or anything that are happening in Silent Hill because she just does not have that level of trauma, and she still has a very innocent worldview, or at least a very honest worldview. So for her, it's entirely different. Meanwhile, James is just tormented by all these metaphors of sex, sickness, and you're a disgusting human being. So of course his world is going to be very controlled for him.
Can I
breakdown on... Oh no, really quick. Any breakdown on Silent Hill 2 is fascinating to watch. Just like
I'll send you a link to a Let's Play that I think you would
That is another game I still gotta play.
Do you...
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Do you
Alright,
think...
now Will, go for it.
As you were saying, Will.
Okay, well, this is a joke before I was gonna get to other things I want to say, but, like, do you think that in Silent Hill 2, James is also terrified of terrible voice acting? That's why everyone sounds so awful.
Okay.
And I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say it adds to the fear, or like the uncomfortableness, which I agree with. I'm just making a joke. I'm just making a joke.
I know you're just making a joke, but for anyone listening to this, like, it's, if you go and find, these dissections and whatever the fuck on that game, it's fascinating to see because, what's her name? Is it Mary? I'm pretty sure it's Mary.
Mary and Maria are
she
very
actually has really good voice acting, and that it's a dynamic that's played with, and I feel like maybe they just got shitty voice actors and recorded it poorly, but I want to think that it was an artistic choice. I want to think it was genuine.
I think it was very controlled.
Yeah, well, because like it was also, you got to keep in mind, it was Japanese people writing Americans.
Well, it was
sure.
that, and also they did, I remember, so the Let's Play that I'm going to show you later, Erin, or if anyone else wants to see it, is that
I'm so excited.
they were talking about how, like, when in the production of Silent Hill 2, they deliberately talked to the actors, I believe for whether it be Silent Hill or something else, I forget what it was, but they talked to the actors that they were playing, or the characters that they were playing, and they gave the directions for the voice actors. So they had specific intentions in mind for all these characters. And I was like, all right, cool. For Marie versus Maria is very interesting. But like, it's so easy to be confused by Maria's whole presence, because she's just on and off with how she feels at the time, because she's very much just shaped by how James acts. And it's funny, like, one of my favorite scenes has gotta be, like, after you lose her for a bit because she wandered off somewhere, and you meet back with her, and you're like, Maria, you're alive? Oh, well, anyways, I'm glad you're okay. And then she's just like, anyways, what the fuck do you mean, anyways?
Every moment with her is just so good, because it really helps show his mental state, like, and his thoughts towards his wife and his confusions and all of that. Oh, it's so good. Such a good game.
One scene from Silent Hill 2 that always makes me chuckle is because there's a scene between James and Mary or Maria. I always forget. Like, Mary, I'll call her Mary because I forget which one it's to. But like Mary, like he's like, wait, you're not gonna take me with you? He's like, no, it's dangerous. And then he's like, you're gonna leave me? And then she says, oh, are you gonna leave me here to die? Maybe you're just glad that your wife's dead. And then he says, of course I'm not. And then she says, so I can come with you? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not?
Oh,
like,
yeah, I love that.
I'm like, dude, she just insinuated that the wife, you're happy that the wife who you're here looking for is dead, and you're just gonna, like,
brush
ignore
it
that?
off like it's nothing. Yeah.
This man can't fight shit. I'm sorry.
I'd be pretty pissed if someone suggested that, given the context of where he is and why he's there.
So depressed. He was so depressed.
I know.
James James at that moment of Silent Hill 2 is not the type of man to talk shit to Maria, because Maria has this hold over him already. It was just like, he can't do anything about that. He's kind of a pushover.
I just remember that scene always cracking me up.
It's really funny.
But I wanted to say to Erin's point, though, about, like, fixed cameras, is that I think most people are actually more nostalgic for them than they think, because one of the most, like, beloved horror games to come out in the past, like, decade, other than, like, new Resident Evils, was Until Dawn. And that game, sure, you had, like, some slight control over the camera, like, around the borders, but, like, it was never, like, over your shoulder, really. And that game is, like, all fixed camera angles and, you know, quick time events.
Well, the thing I really liked about Until Dawn, and that's why I think, like, the company that makes those games Supermassive really haven't hit their stride like they did with that game, is like, the premise of that game was literally like, okay, you always watch these horror movies, you watch the cheesy things where it's like the jock and the nerd and the prick.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it played with
and the
tropes
bitch.
so well.
The bitch is the word I was looking for. Hi, Emily. Yeah. Hi, Emily.
Emily and Jessica, God.
Pretty much all the women except for Ashley and Sam. Anyways, like, okay, you always say, like, no, you idiot, don't go in that door. Yeah. Don't do that. That's stupid. Like, okay, here's a game where you play as those characters. See if you can do any better. And that's why Until Dawn did so good.
It was incredible.
It was really great, and I loved it. Like, obviously the fixed camera scenes, I feel like were a bit more, there were choices in what could be fixed and what could not be, because there were still times where your character was roaming around an area and you could move the camera, but not that much. So it's still, I guess it still counts as fixed camera. I played their second game, within their, like, I guess, their anthology.
Oh, God. Little Hope?
No, not Little Hope.
Man of Medan then.
Man of Medan is kind of...
Man of Medan, I honestly didn't care for it as much.
Man of Medan is okay. Little Hope, I need to go on a rant about how stupid that shit is.
Before, I just want to say this, because I wanted to bring this up earlier when, and this will be quick, because Devil May Cry was brought up earlier. E3 is in a couple days as of us recording this, and Capcom is reportedly announcing 3 games, or like 4 new games. I will lose my shit if they announce a Devil May Cry or Devil May Cry 3 remake. I will be so happy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would love that. Anyway, sorry, Nick. I just wanted to bring that up before I forgot. So go ahead about like Little Hope.
Okay, so I'm gonna give spoilers for Man-of-Medan and Little Hope, and like the dark
I don't
pictures.
think anyone cares.
Yeah, no,
It's
they're not.
fine.
Good.
There is one part after your that I want to bring up Man of Medan, but after.
Just like Until Dawn, the second one of the characters dies, I was like, all right, it's all time for them to die. They don't deserve it.
Time to die. You must die. Anyways.
You must die.
You must die. Okay, here's what I liked about Man-of-Medan, because it did kind of mix it up compared to Until Dawn. Because Until Dawn was like, oh, you think like it's just some psycho killer is just normally going around, but then you learn there's a supernatural bit with the Wendigos, and they're going around and they're killing people. So Man-of-Medan does the exact opposite, where you think like there's possessed shit and there's weird crazy shit going on. You learn they're all just hallucinating, and it's actually a gas. Yeah, they called it Manchurian Gold, but it was actually like a code name for this hallucinogenic drug that seeped out, and that was clever, like how they did that.
I'll give them
That is a good reverse.
I'll give
Little Hope.
Yeah.
Little Hope did something stupid. It did that whole thing. I don't know if this was in the early, but we talked about this with the Snyder Cut, where Martian Manhunter shows up and posing as Martha Kent and ruins that whole scene. But essentially does the same thing, because the twist in Little Hope is it was all in the guy's head. None of it was real. Because that's like a big stab in the back, where it's like the entire purpose of these games is like, I want to go around and save these people from death. Because like, you learned that none of the characters were real, and it was just the bus driver being old and creepy. And like, you'd think like, oh, what about Man-of-Medan? That was all a drug. Yes, it was a drug, but there was a very real threat, because there was a bunch of pirates going around wielding guns, just as crazy.
The characters in Man of Medan were still in danger, regardless of whether or not they were hallucinating demons.
Yeah, there was still in effect. A result still came to be.
Yeah.
With the I guess with Little Hope, it's like nothing happened.
There's
your choices
in Little Hope.
Your choices in Man of Medan still mattered. It's not like it's not like every death was just hallucinated in Man of Medan.
Yeah, I stabbed the shit out of that little black kid. I thought he was the Reaper. Anyways.
I have to say, the whole like it was all in his head thing,
I fucking hate it.
99.9% of times is absolutely terrible, unless it's done in very small doses.
Especially like, if it's a video game where the whole purpose is like trying to keep yourself alive.
Yeah, I think the only example I've ever seen that I've liked of like this part was in your head was like Mother 3 when you're tripping on shrooms. Because it establishes that, oh, you're tripping on mushrooms and everything that's happening isn't real. But like it's fascinating to see what goes on in these characters' heads.
Well, yeah, but
every
that's
other
like...
example is terrible.
Well, the thing is, in that sense, they don't lie to you. They tell you straight up what's happening, and you know it's not real, and this is for fun.
And they say it's when the twist is that it's all a dream.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they don't tell you out front. Like, you just eat mushrooms, and unless you know that the drug trip is going to happen, like, you could believe the island is very scary. But, you know, it's very quickly put together that it's in your head.
I do like when... This is, like, specifically with shows, because it's a show, and if it's, like, late into the show, they can kind of play with this. I do like it when they kind of toy with that idea. Like, one of my favorite episodes of Batman, the animated series, is called Perchance to Dream, and it's this really weird episode where, you know, Bruce Wayne wakes up and his parents are alive. He's like engaged to Selena Kyle. Someone else is Batman, and like, he's like, and he's like, so wait, was that all a dream? And like, I have a chance to be happy. And then of course it's not the case. I think the twist was a bit lame, but still the entire episode was great because it was like a psychological dive into what makes Bruce Wayne tick.
When TV shows do it, they don't do it like movies where it's like, what a twist, none of it was real. It's more of a what if kind of thing. Like Family Guy did it, like, what if Stewie finally killed Lewis?
Yeah. one of my favorite movies of all time that kind of does it. I think like the YouTuber Drew Gooden put in the best way about this movie, about how like it's not that what he did didn't happen, it's just like maybe it didn't happen in the fantastic way that he imagined it. Because one of my favorite movies ever made is American Psycho, and the way and that movie ends with like kind of maybe hinting at it, like maybe he did kill Jared Leto's character, which I find it really funny that in American Psycho, Batman kills the Joker.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah, no, it's a good scene. And then, of course, you got the Weird Al parody where,
oh yeah, with Huey Lewis is so good.
No, that's a Funny or Die thing, what am I saying?
Yeah. But, okay, I want to go back, though, to the Dark Pictures thing really quick, because this is like a funny, not funny, but like something I found out, but you know that, what's the new one coming out, like Man of Ashes or something, or House of Ashes, is it?
Are they making another one?
Well, yeah, because I think it's like
make it like a quadro pentrilogy.
I think they said like a 6 parts like anthology that releases like every 6 months. The new one, whatever it's called, it has Ashley Tisdale in it.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Ashley Tisdale, you're good.
Yeah.
She's good though. She's amazing. Yeah. What's she doing in that shit?
Candace and Phineas. I mean, we don't know what's gonna be.
She's getting paid, bro.
One thing about the twist in Man of Medan that, because like there's one part in that game specifically that goes against that twist, and it has to do with the fixed cameras, because there's a part where like one of the like I don't remember the name of the black girl, but like there's a scene where like Fliss, okay, yeah, I think it's her. There's like a scene where one of the pirates is like walking her down a hall, and there's a fixed camera, and the camera is at the end of the hall where the characters aren't at yet, so only we as the player can see it. And you see like a creepy demon hand on the wall, and it makes like a scratching noise, but the characters didn't see that, only us as the players could see it. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. So I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait, if this is all in my head, or like in these characters' heads, why would there be a demon hand there that the characters can't see? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, that little detail, because like I remember thinking like, I swear, because there's that creepy like curator guy who you can ask questions to, and he'd be like,
God, the curator guy's
maybe
so
it's
stupid.
and there's like a part where he shows up and he's like, oh, maybe
he
it's
gives it away.
Supernatural.
That's the thing. Yeah. He gives it away so easily.
But then that scene with the hand happened, and I'm like, oh, well, it has to be supernatural then, because none of the characters would have been able to see that. You know, is that just a thing for the audience? That's dumb.
If it's just a thing for the audience, that'd be great, but
small rant about the curator. If you want to do like a character like fucking the masterful guy,
Mr. Exposition.
No, what's the guy who did Twilight Zone? Shit, I forget his name.
Rob something.
I never watched Twilight Zone, so that's all you
Shit,
guys.
it is Rob some.
I'm gonna look
Rod Sterling. Rod Sterling.
Rod Sterling. Okay.
Yeah.
Freaking
if you want to be like.
Poor Rick is screaming in the distance.
Oh yeah.
Rick is screaming in the distance.
Sorry.
I apologize. I own the entire series on DVD now, and I'm just
I fucking love the Twilight Zone. I just never remember his name.
Yeah, you know that meme. You know that meme from Blade Runner 2049 of Ryan Gosling yelling?
No, I don't.
Yes.
What?
That's just Rick right now.
Yeah.
But anyways,
God damn it!
If you want to be like the master Rod Serling, you don't just tell them like, ooh, maybe it's not as they seem. Ooh, maybe something different's going on. Ooh, what do you think? You build up like he found himself in a world of horror and change, not knowing quite what was real. These things tend to happen always in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Yeah, those are. I'll be honest.
You build up.
Those have got to be my favorite types of characters when it comes to horrors. Of you have like this seemingly ordinary, or maybe even just a creepy character.
Yeah, like the Tales from the Crypt guy.
Yeah, it's like they're not directly affecting the story that is happening. No, that's for you guys to deal with. I'm just here on the sidelines, observing and just saying
like,
what's been happening. It was just
there's like the Tales from the Crypt guy. There's Rod Sterling, who's the narrator. There's like the Grable's guy from Adventure Time.
Like, I've
And
always
there's,
wanted
like,
to...
There's so many just, like, storytelling. Like, Eden Zero as a character that's kind of like that. And
Yeah.
she's an actual character in the story, but she still, like, kind of says, like, yo, I'm just kind of watching this shit unfold, you know?
Yeah, it's like, I've always wanted to do that kind of thing in a for,
Yeah.
like, a D&D, like, just... I say mini-series, but, like, a D&D thing where it's pretty much just, like, a group of characters trapped in a sanatorium that seems very odd, and the only person that's there is like this sort of, you know,
Watcher.
no,
Yeah.
it's sort of like a hotel manager that's always there, just being
Oh.
like, yes, I'm here for what you need, welcome to the sanatorium, good luck on your recovery, and it's just like observing what is happening.
Oh, so you mean like the guy who's like an obvious red herring?
A little bit, yeah. I'm just like, I love the idea of having that type of character, whether
Yeah.
they be sympathetic or not. Well, that's up to your fucking players, but
I would love to be a part of that game.
I gotta finish the sessions that I started with another group, but I'll definitely plan it.
This isn't exactly like that, per se, with like the obvious red herring guy, but I just remembered this because, like, excuse me, I rewatched Hot Fuzz last week. Fucking great movie still. And there's that, like, I forget his, like, first name, like, the Skinner guy, who just, like, he'll run up to the cop and be like, you need to arrest me. I'm a slasher of prices.
Yeah,
And it's like...
he's like the so obvious red herring that you actually think it's him.
Yeah. There's literally a part where, like, he goes up to this woman, he's like, oh, I would love to just bash your brains out, and then that character dies. And then he drives by the house.
Yeah, no,
it's
he's
fucking
just,
hilarious.
Like, when he's driving by, like, the blown up house, there's, like, a song that's like, fire to destroy, like, some song about fire. And it's like, there's so many layers in, like, that movie, because of course there is. It's fucking Edgar Wright.
Yeah. Edgar Wright's good at what he does. I need to do, like, a study on his stuff.
I need to watch Baby Driver.
Dude, Baby Driver... Okay, Baby Driver is so good, but I will say, I think I brought this up in the first episode, that I rewatched Baby Driver recently. It was actually in the same day, because I don't know why, I was just on, like, an Edgar Wright kick. And we watched, me and that friend watched Hot Fuzz and then Baby Driver, and I remember in episode 1, I mentioned that I think art, for the most part, should be separated from the artist. And Kevin Spacey in Baby Driver, like, he's still great in the movie. He's a piece of shit in real life, obviously, but I gotta say, there are some... No. I mean, I do think his acting is still good, but I gotta say, there are some lines in Baby Driver that, knowing what we know about Kevin Spacey now, is just so much funnier.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, there's one scene at the beginning where, because, like, obviously he takes some of Baby's money, and there's, like, a line that just cracks me up now where Kevin Spacey just says, you know I never liked taking candy from Baby. And I'm like, oh, no. Oh,
Kinda
Kevin.
cringe, bro.
Yeah. Oh, no, Kevin. Oh, Kevin,
no.
you... What have you done?
No.
Kevin, no.
No. Yeah. He has a couple of other lines that I can't remember, but, like, that line in particular has always just stuck out with me of being, like, really funny now.
I really need to watch that movie in totality.
It's on
Because
Netflix.
I've only ever seen bits and pieces, and I wasn't too
Yeah.
interested at the time, but I gotta give it a chance.
Yeah. It's on Netflix
Fair.
now. It's really good.
Yeah.
I do want to bring it back to the horror just because we're nearing about 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to end with a question for the three of you because I always get different responses and I'm curious. Do you prefer action-driven horror or psychological horror?
It depends on the mood I'm in.
Yeah, I can go
Valid.
either way. Like, I think I prefer action. Like, I prefer the monster. Like, my favorite horror movies are like Alien Isolation, by the way, great game. Like, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan
Oh,
because
yeah.
of
yeah.
creatures like Nemesis and whatnot.
I've tried finishing Alien Isolation. I
But-
can't fucking do it. I can't do
But,
it.
like, my thing is, like,
I can't
my
finish
thing is,
Outlast
like,
either.
if you mix the two, you're golden. Because, like, as
Oh,
much...
yeah.
Oh,
as,
absolutely.
Because it kind of goes... one of the few horror... Not a movie, but a book. The few horror books that actually, like, unnerves me to this day is Misery. Because, like, you know, we all dream of being writers. And, like, I remember I was in, like, my drama class reading the scene in the book, I don't know if you've read the book, but if you see the movie, in the movie, I haven't seen the movie, but in the movie she just breaks his legs.
Yeah.
But
Don't
in
worry,
the
I
book,
saw the Pink music video where she alluded to that.
in the book, she
Ah.
chops the entire goddamn foot off, blows it, puts out like a makeshift blowtorch and like cauterizes it. And he's like writhing in
that.
pain, and she's like dead face. She's like, gotta cauterize the wound. Gotta
Yep.
cauterize the wound.
Hell
And that
yeah.
like unnerved the shit. That's the one horror
Misery is
scene.
a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Of just
I'll
like having
have to read
ordinary
that. I never
people
have.
Like,
in a very
just-
extreme setting.
it has the monster and it has like the psychological aspect, because like she is kind of nuts, and like it is like the greatest fear of those who wish to be famous, like the one fan who will
Yeah.
snap, and
Yeah.
like that's what I love, and like
If I ever meet that if I ever get to that peak of like fame, I doubt it'll ever happen. Or even if this podcast comes out and there's one freak, I'm straight up, no mercy, get the hell away from me. I don't have
Oh,
time
yeah,
for
no.
this.
It's like wasn't there like something recently about like that YouTuber Gabby Hanna and Bo Burnham?
Oh my god,
no,
yes.
I haven't heard
And
of
I
Yeah,
don't
like
want to
she
get
stalked
into
him.
it because
I-
it's
I
just
don't want-
too
yeah.
controversial and
I don't
I'll
wanna-
take a look at it myself. I'll take.
Yeah,
a look
okay.
At it myself.
Yeah. But so I'll answer your question. So your question was like, do I prefer action horror or like psychological horror?
yeah.
Okay, so for me, I would say action, specifically because if it's action, I know I can kill the enemy. If it's
See,
okay,
Exactly. That's what
with-
I love about psychological, though,
Yeah.
is that you can't always kill the monster, and there's
the
not always
monster
that
is
one
often
answer.
you.
Exactly, and it leaves you feeling so much more hopeless and afraid, and like, you know what? I'm a person, I have severe depression and anxiety. I probably shouldn't want to go out of my way to feel hopelessness and fear, but I do, and I just love the dark of psychological horror.
But that's
Even
the
if there
validation of
aren't-
it, though. That's
Exactly,
where the
and it
catharsis
comes
comes
from a
from.
clear source.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a weird, oh, I'm up all night because I can't put my finger on what I'm afraid of. It's, oh no, there's bad things happening. Here it is.
You
Enjoy.
can't necessarily put a name to it, but sometimes you can put it in
Mhm.
a physical form, or someone can do that for you, where you have that validation of like, yes, I know this feeling. Thank you for helping me attack it in
Exactly.
another form.
At Omori, 100%. Omori is
Yeah.
one of the greatest psychological horrors I've ever played.
I gotta play.
I
it.
feel bad because I'm trying to make a game that's about horror, but that's not psychological. It's more monster, because that's
It
what I'm
doesn't
like.
have to be psychological because
Like-
It doesn't
sometimes
have to be.
I
you
prefer
can
the
have people
monster
that enjoy both.
because I prefer fear of that which we can't understand. Like that's why I like
Sure.
Lovecraft stuff so much. Like
Yeah.
Oh my god,
It's
H.P.
very much-
Okay,
Lovecraft
wait.
is
Like-
so
Yeah,
great.
sorry, what were you saying, Will? Sorry, we
Okay, well, first, I just want to ask, since HP Lovecraft was brought up,
I swear to God, if
do
you
you-
mention the cat,
I was gonna mention the cat.
Let's not talk about the cat.
Can
We're
we
not
not?
talking
Okay, no,
about the cat.
Okay, I'm not gonna
We all know
say
the
the
cat.
name. I'm not gonna say the name, but for people who don't, just do yourself a favor and look up
Don't
HP
look it up.
Lovecraft's cat.
Look up
I-
this cat.
yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
No.
Do it.
I want to make. I heard someone on Twitch say this, or like on a different podcast, and I absolutely agree. I want to see a sketch of HP Lovecraft in like modern day looking for his lost cat.
oh no!
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my god, that'd
but-
be amazing.
yeah. But like, okay, so,
But yeah, I like
I was
it
gonna
when
say,
there's
like,
a giant
I
monster.
yeah. I
Oh,
was
by
gonna
the way,
say,
Call of
usually I
Cthulhu,
prefer,
shit game.
What game's the shit? Sorry.
Call of Cthulhu. It was like a recently made game. It looks like a game made from when the first Amnesia came out. It came out like 2019, and it's like shit. You go on the best. Like I've seen like all the endings to it, and like Cthulhu's barely in it. Like I get it. Cthulhu's like the big bad that shows up at the end. But I mean, like,
You really can't show him without the character going inevitably insane. Probably
Yeah.
at a faster rate, but
I mean,
yeah.
it was just so dull. And it's like the quote unquote ending I got that I assume was like the best ending possible. It still made you feel sad. I'm just like, why would I feel sad? This bitch was trying to summon Cthulhu. Fuck her. Like
I do want to, even though I said like oh my god, sorry, one sec. Oh my god, I'm dying. Fuck.
He has COVID.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Quarantine.
Actually,
COVID is
guys,
the greatest horror of us all.
I'm getting my vaccine in a week, so
I'm getting my vaccine on Friday. Hell yeah.
Nice.
I'm already vaccinated.
Vax gang.
Same.
How dare
okay.
you be vaccinated before me?
I spent my 15 minutes reading Alita Battle Angel Last Order.
That's fair.
And I found out that one of the characters is transsexual in that. Like, there's a transsexual robot.
Oh, nice. But even though like I say I prefer like action horror, my favorite horror game is, and it's kind of like a mixture of both, but it was The Evil Within 2.
Yes.
I really like that game, like because a lot of it is
so good.
Dude, the fucking camera monster still scares me. I can't do that.
So good.
I can't do that section without tensing up. But
just like the sound design for all the monsters.
Oh, dude, the sound design is
especially for like the goo monsters, and then the camera monster. It was like,
no. The scariest part is like the ghost. Like you go to like random houses,
yes,
and that ghost will like pull you into like the asylum from the first game, and you can't kill it. You can't be seen. Dude, scenes like that, like, oh my god, they do something to me that I can't explain. It's just not a good feeling.
I feel like the first Evil Within, like, it tried, it really did. I couldn't get through watching a playthrough of it. I felt like it was too disconjointed, and I went from watching Evil Within 2 to watching Evil Within 1. So my standards are like, I know it's not that good, but yeah.
The first one is
compared
like
to
all
the
right.
second, especially, it's a time.
Yeah.
I feel like though that's because they outsourced it to an entirely different team. It was just published by Bethesda.
It also just plays so much better.
Yeah.
And like the story to Evil Within 2 is still pretty whatever. Like, oh, my daughter who I thought was dead is actually still alive, and she's being used as like the core for this weird horror matrix
it's still
thing.
So
it's stupid.
Weird.
It's so
still
dumb.
Silly, dumb horror, but like the game itself is so well made.
Very often horror plots are very silly. Like the only one
absolutely
that worked is like Alien.
Yeah. Like Resident Evil 4 is one of the dumbest games ever made. And
Every Resident Evil game has like this really insane plot. Like 7 and 8 are the only ones that are like kind of
IT man searches for his missing wife in the bayou and gets trapped by a bunch of bayou people who are being controlled by a 10-year-old child who really has anxiety and separation issues.
There was like I'm not gonna spoil Resident Evil 8, but there's like one twist in that game that I just
Well, I'd say don't spoil it in general, because by the time this comes out, like, people still might not be over.
Oh no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Might not be over yet,
I'm not going to. Don't worry, I'm not going to say what it is, but like, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that there is a twist in a Resident Evil game.
Oh, there always is.
Yeah, but like the main twist, which again I won't say, I just kind of called bullshit on. Also, I don't know. I kind of wish like Resident Evil would just stick with but would just like do supernatural things without feeling like they need to explain it.
That's fair. Well, I feel like that's a symptom of a lot of like fantasy, sci-fi, and horror nowadays. It's just people want an explanation to the magic system or whatever the hell is happening. That to the point where like
it's not okay these days for something to just let be, like everybody demands this huge lore and expectation. And so a horror universe, like, it can't just be what it is, and it can't just be scary. There has to be a thing behind the scary.
I kind of just let that go. I let that go after like I was watching master classes by like N.K. Jemisin, who I hadn't heard about until recently, and I'm sad I did, because the way she talks about like just writing sci-fi fantasy is great. And one of her things was like, when writing sci-fi or fantasy or anything when it comes to the magic system, it's like there's only so much that you can explain until it no longer becomes magic or it no longer becomes sci-fi, because the whole point of that is the unexplained aspect of the what if. If you explain too much, then it's just the formula. That's it. Like, have the suspense.
Yeah, one of my favorite horror movies, this is actually one that I forgot to mention that I should have, is Reanimator. And I was watching like the YouTuber Dead Meat's kill count on it, and he brought up a part where like, because the main bad guy can kind of like mind control zombies, and not the director, like one of the producers was like, Oh yeah, there was a deleted scene that explained that he had like weird hypnotic powers, but we got rid of it because at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like,
and
I
you know
love
what?
that.
Props to them.
Yeah.
Like,
And-
I mean, that's the thing. I know I always do this, but like, you compare some, like, the lesser, like, some of the DCEU movies where they, like, over-explain a lot and they always, like, philosophical questions. It's like, and then, like, you get to, like, the MonsterVerse, which just says, like, it does it all through, like, expressions. Like, you don't know the specifics of why Godzilla and Kong stopped fighting, but you don't need that. You just need to see them look at each other and be like,
There has to come a point where we have to let the watchers or the players or the readers fill in the blanks and actually use their head.
Mad
because
Max
that's
Fury
what
Road.
captivates us.
they don't explain shit in Fury Road. It's one of the best action movies I've ever seen only once.
Yeah, it's like, and I know we gotta wrap up soon. This is like my big problem with, specifically with action, but like, this is my big problem with a lot of anime, where like a character will throw a punch, and then like time will stop, and you will hear them be like explain the very specific
like
way in which they're throwing the
20
punch.
seconds
So
between a
obnoxious.
punch, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
in the moment, I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. I want to know, but at the same time, it's like we're in the middle of a fucking fight.
That
so-
makes sense in something like Dr. Stone, where the point is like he goes onto these tangents about science. Like, if that's the point, it works.
yeah,
But,
it's just like because like
it's act-
one of my favorite like anime and manga that I watched and read recently, and this will be the last thing I say, was Jujutsu Kaisen. And there's a part in that series where like, I guess mild spoiler just for like one ability that a character can do. There's a character who has the ability to like clap his hands, and then like he can make a person or a thing switch places with another person or thing. And there's one part where he just claps his hands, the villain turns around, and nothing happens. And this, I love the show, but this rubbed me the wrong way. He clapped his hands, the villain turned around because he was trying to distract her, and it did that thing where like it's time slows down and you hear his head. It's like, an easy distraction, but not every time I clap my hands I can make something, switch places. And that scene rubbed me the wrong way so much because I was like, I assumed it was just something he can control. I didn't think every time he put his hands together, something would switch places
Yeah.
with something else.
Like a better
I don't need
execution
that.
of that probably would have been just like, yes, use the ability. We don't know what it is later, but when he has a time to breathe, it's like, damn, I was worried I wouldn't be able to control that. It's just like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Now
It's
we
one
know.
of the it's one of the geniuses actually about like the exposition in Spy Family, because like Anya can read minds, and usually, at least for me, when you're thinking stuff, you're kind of thinking it in great detail. So it makes sense for that, because it's like, oh yeah, she's a little girl reading their minds, so obviously in their minds they're kind of explaining this in like really intricate ways. But with a lot of horror stuff, I'm kind of just, I don't care so much about like the why they exist. I'm willing to just kind of accept that they do.
Honestly, once I'm finished, like, I haven't finished my first film script yet. I need to get on that because I really want to send it to Terry and have it finished so she can read it because she wants to. But once I'm finished with that, like, I really want to get into writing a psychological horror idea that I had. Also, like, trying to write an adaptation of a sci-fi comic that I'm really into. If you haven't read it or if you haven't heard of it, Aphrodite 9, I love that comic series so much. It's so good. But yeah, I want to try doing that at a point.
Absolutely. I mean, my whole feature film for Terry was a horror thing that it's been like a love project of mine ever since high school. Like, I just have a fascination with horror, but it goes back to like not everything has to be explained. There's reasons why the horror is happening, and I know it, but it doesn't have to be explained in the script. Like, it just is. These characters are just going to have a shit time.
Whether
And
it be
that's all that
psychological
matters.
or like physical horror, it's going to be
Yeah.
the same thing of just like, this is the thing that you are fighting. Whether you can win or not, you don't know until the end.
And is that not life? We don't know if we're gonna win until the end. We're just here.
Yeah, it's what I love about the John Wick movies, because they just like, you just kind of have to accept that these characters had a relationship off screen, or that there's a hotel where these assassins aren't allowed to kill people or like excommunicated. It's like, you just kind of have to accept that, and I love that. I don't need,
It's really
I don't
just
need
people calling
everything.
bullshit, and they're like, "Shut the fuck up! It's happening. You don't want
Yeah.
to watch the movie? Get out."
Yeah, and there was something like that in Resident Evil 8 where I'm like, I don't, just don't. But anyway,
We should
I think we
probably
should
wrap up.
look at wrapping
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we probably.
I-
Can I
I've
just
said
say
all my-
last
I've said my
thing
piece.
about writing horror? Whenever I try and write horror, I always think to myself, "Is this scary?" And that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. And that's all you need to ask.
If for you, is it scary? Then you know what, that's good enough for now. But anyways, we should be tuning out. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of 20-something. This has been me, Victoria, our friend Will, also known as Salsaclubpresident, our bud Nick, also known as Cartoon Nickname, and Erin, also known as Pages of Erin. You can find all
I like
of our
how Erin-
individual socials.
I like how you
I'm
didn't give
doing the
Erin a
outro.
title. You were like the boy Will or something.
I'm
the-
still
the
in the
bud
bad
Nick.
corner. I'm still in
Oh,
the
yeah,
naughty
yeah.
corner. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
do an
so-
outro.
Yeah.
We're cutting out
Sorry.
the in-between of this. Like, anyways, if you want to find our individual social links, you can find them in the description down below. Be sure to check all of us out, and we hope to see you next time. Bye!